Have you ever been scrolling your social media feed and just felt emotional whiplash? One second you're seeing something that makes you furious, the next you're laughing your head off, and then bam, a video of a puppy rescuing a kitten. Well, let's get into it because it turns out that chaos is anything but random.
So, really, what is going on here? Why does your feed feel so addictive and just, well, all over the place? We all know that feeling of being pulled in 100 different directions at once. But the reason for it, it's a lot more deliberate than you probably think.
And this quote right here from behavioral expert Chase Hughes really gets to the heart of what we're talking about. It's provocative, right? The idea that the very same principles used to break someone down in an interrogation room are now being used to keep you scrolling.
Okay, so let's start with that chaos. That crazy mix of outrage, and then inspiration, and then humor, and then despair, all in the span of, 30 seconds? It feels like the Wild West of the internet. But it's not.
And this is the absolute key. That chaos, it is the point. It's not an accident at all. It's a carefully engineered script, and it is designed to do one thing incredibly well: completely break down your ability to think critically. So to really get how this all works, we need to look at a very specific psychological tool. It's got a pretty strange name, but believe me, its effect is unbelievably powerful.
It's actually called the Alice in Wonderland technique, and the whole goal is to overwhelm your brain with so much conflicting information and emotional whiplash that it basically just short circuits. And when your brain can't make sense of anything, it gets desperate for something, anything that feels solid.
This quote just illustrates it perfectly. Imagine you're falling. Are you going to be picky about what you grab onto? No way. You'll grab a branch, a thorny bush, anything to stop the fall. A confused mind does the exact same thing. It latches onto the very first logical-sounding idea it hears, no questions asked. And it all breaks down into this really simple, repeatable process. Step 1, interrupt someone's normal way of thinking. Step 2, hit them with that wave of confusion. And then step 3, right in that moment when they're vulnerable, you insert your command or your suggestion. It just slips right past all their mental defenses.
Okay, but where in the world did this powerful technique even come from? I mean, this isn't some new marketing gimmick somebody came up with last year. Its origins are actually much, much darker. We're talking about the world of espionage and counterintelligence.
The history here is pretty shocking. The technique was first written about in detail by Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard. Then, fast forward to the 60s, and the CIA copies it almost word for word into their QBAR counterintelligence interrogation manual. And today, that exact same playbook is being run at a massive scale right on your phone.
And let's be crystal clear about why this was developed in the first place. This technique was never, ever about finding out what someone actually believed. It was about dismantling their entire internal logic and then replacing it with a new one. The real goal was to just overwrite their mind.
But confusion is only one part of this whole equation. There's another huge psychological principle at play that makes this so darn effective, and that is our deep, almost primal obedience to authority.
A lot of you have probably heard of the famous Milgram experiment. The setup was pretty simple. A teacher, who was the real participant, was told by an authority figure in a lab coat to give electric shocks to a learner for wrong answers. Now, the shocks were fake, the learner was an actor, but the teacher believed it was all very real.
So, what do you think happened? I mean, how many people do you think went all the way to what they thought was a lethal shock? Just take a look at this number.
67%. That's right, 2/3 of totally ordinary people kept inflicting what they thought was extreme pain on another human being, even while hearing screams of agony, just because a guy in a lab coat calmly said, "The experiment requires that you continue."
And I know what you might be thinking. Well, that was the 60s, people are different now. But here's the thing, they're not. When the study was replicated in 2010, the results were almost identical. Our hardwired deference to authority, it just hasn't gone anywhere.
Okay, so let's put the pieces together. We have the confusion technique, and we have our deep-seated obedience to authority. How do these two Cold War-era psychological weapons come together in the 21st century? Well, this is where your phone comes right back into the picture. The principles haven't changed. They've just been scaled up and digitized. You see, the lab coat from the 1960s, that's now the verified checkmark, or a post with a huge number of likes. The authority is algorithmic, and instead of a one-on-one interrogation, this is happening to millions of us, all at the same time, right in the palm of our hands.
And the digital version of that Alice in Wonderland technique?
It's often called fractionation. It's the constant rapid cycling of your emotions: fear, hope, anger, joy, back and forth. Think about bending a piece of metal over and over again. Eventually, it just weakens and snaps. Fractionation does the exact same thing to your critical thinking.
Does this little sequence look familiar? A clip that makes your blood boil? Swipe. A video that makes you feel all hopeful? Swipe. An ad that makes you feel like you're not good enough? Swipe. A story that breaks your heart? Swipe. And on it goes. This isn't a feed. It's an emotional engineering loop, and it's built to keep you suggestible.
So, we've pretty much established the how, but we haven't really answered the why. What is the ultimate goal of all this confusion and emotional cycling? I'll tell you, it goes way deeper than just trying to get you to buy something.
And this is the end game. It's about getting you to agree on an identity level. It's not about convincing you that one specific idea is correct. It's about convincing you that agreeing with that idea is a fundamental part of who you are. And once that happens, well, your future behavior becomes very, very predictable and very controllable.
Which really just reframes this whole experience, doesn't it? We tend to think of ourselves as customers or users or the audience. But in this model, we're not any of those things. We are the subjects in a massive, ongoing psychological experiment.
And that all brings us to one final, really important question. If your daily scroll is actually a script, one that's designed to confuse you, fracture you, and ultimately reprogram you, who's writing your script? And maybe more importantly, is that a role you're really willing to play?